Hey Sagittarius, what's going on? It's your girl D here with 8th House Energy, here to bring you a Mercury Retrograde reading, along with the Lunar Eclipse that we have going on. So you got a Lunar Eclipse going on in your first house, and Mercury's in retrograde in Gemini, which is the opposite polarity, your opposite polarity, which is the 7th house. So Mercury's going to be in retrograde in your 7th house, starting May 22nd, going through, I'm sorry, May 29th, forgive me, May 29th through June 22nd. Now, keep in mind with any retrograde, we have a pre-shadow period. So the Mercury retrograde pre-shadow period has already begun. It began on like the 16th. So we are already feeling, some of us are feeling the energies of the Mercury retrograde. It'll be hard-bodied in retrograde between May 29th and June 22nd. Now, there's always a post-shadow period as well, and that is from June 22nd to about July 6th. So the whole entire time frame in which you can feel Mercury retrograde energies would be roughly May 16th through July 7th. All right, so please listen to what I'm saying, because I don't want nobody in the comments talking about, no, that's not when Mercury retrograde. I just explained to you what it is, all right, because there's always somebody who does that. Like, I'm not going to tell you something, you know, if I don't know. Anyway, moving on, child. I don't know why I feel this way with y'all, with this energy. Y'all must be on something, because y'all got the moon in your first house. So, you know, Sagittarius is my second house. So that could be why I'm feeling these energies the way I'm feeling them. But the Mercury retrograde. Mercury, what is Mercury? Mercury is the planet of communication, and it's in Gemini. Okay, and Gemini rules the house of your environmental surroundings, like your local environment. It also rules the energies of where you grew up, okay, the environment you grew up. So if you grew up in an environment where you grew up in the city, whether you grew up in an environment where you grew up in the suburbs, where you grew up in the you know, maybe out in the rural farm area, whatever your neighborhood was when you were a kid. I can't even talk today. It also deals with your current surroundings now, where you live now, the neighborhood, the environment, the surroundings. Now, I wanted to show you something. Let me get these cards out and then I'll show you. So I just told you about Mercury retrograde. Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the planet of the logical mind, right? The opposite polarity of Gemini is Sagittarius. So that's you. You rule the subconscious mind. Actually, this came out this way. You rule the subconscious mind, or the higher mind, where Gemini rules the your formative and childhood education. You, Sagittarius, you rule higher education, which is like your master's degrees and your PhDs. Gemini rules local travel, you know, travel domestically, where Sagittarius on the opposite end of the spectrum rules foreign travel. So let's take a look here. We have, is people outside blasting their music. You know it's Saturday. People, not Saturday, but it's nice out. It's probably a Taurus, a Taurus cusper, a Taurus Gemini cusper partying. Happy birthday if you're one of those people listening to the channel right now. All right, let's get one more and then we'll get into it. I just wanted to get the cards out. Boom, now we got them out. So I show this on every video that I'm doing with the Mercury retrograde lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, because opposite polarity of Gemini, where Mercury is Sagittarius. That's where the lunar eclipse is going to be. So if you were a Virgo, the opposite polarity for Virgo is Pisces. If you're a Gemini, the opposite polarity is Sagittarius. If you're a Leo, the opposite polarity is Aquarius. If you are a Pisces, I already said Pisces. You get the drift, right? So whenever there is a natal chart drawn up, right, the first thing you do is you draw a circle, whether you do it by hand or a computer. And what it does is it divides it into 12 sections, because we have 12 areas of our life, right? So it's divided into 12. Now, don't mind my circle. I know it look crazy, but you can see the gist of what I'm saying here. So the first house represents whatever sun sign you're in. Okay, so you're Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is going to go here for you. After Sagittarius comes what? Capricorn, right? After Capricorn comes Aquarius. After Aquarius comes Pisces. After Pisces comes Aries. After Aries comes Taurus. And after Taurus comes Gemini. So this seventh house for you, Sagittarius, is where Mercury is in retrograde. This is where your first house is where the lunar eclipse is. So we're looking at opposite polarities here, right? Now, I show you this, number one, because there are a lot of readers who say, oh, well, this person might have this in their chart. You have everything in your chart. You have every sign in your chart. And this is an example of how when you draw up a natal chart, whether it's computer or by hand, how it's going to look. Whatever your sun sign is goes in the first house. So technically, if as a Sagittarius, you have every sign in your chart. If I put Leo here, and Leo is your sun sign. As a Leo, you have every sign in your chart. Okay? So just because there's not a planet there doesn't mean the sign is not there, and it doesn't mean that that house is not active. It could be active by people who are around you who have a lot of planets in that house on their chart. But that's a whole nother story. I digress. But I just want to let you know that regardless to what some readers say, oh, maybe this person has Sagittarius in their chart. Yes, everybody has Sagittarius in their chart. So it's like that's irrelevant, calling out signs to a certain extent. Moving on. So we have Sagittarius here in the first house. The opposite polarity of the first house is the seventh house. So the first house talks about yourself. The seventh house talks about your relationships with others. So your relationship with yourself, opposite polarity, these are relationship with others. Okay, so Mercury is going to be in retrograde here when it talks about the relationship with others. Now, relationships, we're talking about every single relationship that's possible when we talk about the seventh house. We're talking about relationships with friends, relationships with family members, relationship with business partners, colleagues, and associates, as well as relationships with intimate lovers. Okay, we're also talking about legal issues here and political issues as well in the seventh house. Okay. Now, in your house, of course, with the lunar eclipse here, the lunar eclipse talks about eclipsing out emotions and feelings that have been blocked, that no longer serve you. So what happens is when there's a thought process, I'll give you an example like I gave everybody else. Say you're in a relationship with someone, right? The logical mind, this is here where Gemini is. Gemini rules the logical mind. Sagittarius rules the higher mind, right? So what happens is the logical mind, it does not deal with feelings at all. Gemini does not deal with feelings. Gemini deals with information. Gemini does not care if the information is horrific to your ears. Gemini does not care if the information that is said hurts your feelings. Gemini does not care if it makes you mad, angry. Gemini doesn't care about emotion. It simply gives you the information. How you take it is how you take it, right? So you are in a relationship, right? So the logical information about that as far as Gemini is concerned is I'm in a relationship with this person. This is the type of relationship I have with this person, right? So say you and this person, you stop communicating with each other. You stop talking. Maybe this person ghosts you, you ghost them. Maybe they cheat and y'all break up, or you decide to go your ways amicably. One way or another, you break up. The result is Mercury's going to look at it as, okay, there's a breakup. Mercury doesn't look at your feelings in the situation. Oh, that person cheated on me, or they ghosted me, blah, 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 blah. What happens is once Mercury says, okay, this is what happened, the next thing that happens is it goes from the logical mind up to the subconscious mind. Now, if it can't get to the subconscious mind, it's because there's an emotional block here, meaning that you're trying to put emotions into a situation where Mercury is. Mercury is processing the information. You are no longer together. The emotional piece is what people add to it, like, damn, we broke up and I'm not over it, or I'm still angry, or I'm not trying to let this person go. I don't care, So what happens is when Mercury goes into retrograde, it looks in the closet and it says, okay, what is all of this stuff in here about feelings? We don't do feelings over here. We do information. So this stuff is still in here because you've not processed it, meaning you've not gotten over it, meaning you've not let it go, meaning that you've not processed it emotionally so that it could go from the logical mind to the higher mind. When it gets to the higher mind, that means that you've learned lessons from the situation and you chalk that up as wisdom, right? Because wisdom is all about experience. You can't get wisdom without experience. If you're not experiencing something and you're learning from others, that gives you intelligence. But for you to experience it yourself, the aftermath of what you've learned is wisdom. All right. So Mercury retrograde comes into the seventh house for you, Sagittarius, and says, okay, we need to clean out the closet because this situation here, we need to get this information out. This is all about emotions, and we need to move this out. So what it's going to do is Mercury retrograde is going to say, hey, Sag, I'm putting this on your mind. Because what Mercury wants you to do is Mercury wants you to deal with it. Figure out what to do with it, because it's not supposed to be here. It's supposed to be here. So Mercury's going to put this on your mind. So you may start thinking about this person. You may start thinking about the relationship. And as a result, you have to deal with those feelings. So say, this person ghosted you or cheated on you and you broke up, right? You have to deal with those emotions in some way, shape, or form. And so your lunar eclipse over here in your first house is what's going to help you to deal with those emotions. So what you have to do is you have to get that information out of here and get it over here. And in order for you to do that, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to come to terms with it. Okay? So coming to terms with it is saying, okay, you know what? I have to accept the fact that this is over. I need to move on. Or coming to terms with it is I have to accept the fact that this person is not going to apologize to me or acknowledge the shitty way that they broke up with me or how they did me or how they cheated. I got to let this go and move on. Because Mercury's only going to bring to the forefront what's going to hold you back from progressing and moving forward as a human being. All right. And there are unprocessed feelings that are going to keep you from ascending. So this is why you take advantage of the lunar eclipse energy here that's in your first house, because, lunar deals with your emotions and feelings. And when you eclipse something, you eclipse these emotions out. So this is why the Sagittarius lunar moon and the Mercury retrograde energies work hand in hand. All right. It's very important that you understand that. This is why I drew this diagram and explained it this way, so that you understand how these energies are working together to help you to get over past relationships. And again, because it's the seventh house, it doesn't matter what type of relationship it is. It could be emotional tie-ups that you have with friendships that have ended, emotional tie-ups you have with lovers, emotional tie-ups that you've not gotten over with family members, with friends. Also, it could be some legal issues or ramifications that could be going on in your emotional tie-up with that. So say perhaps you were doing something illegally and you got caught. And you're frustrated, you're angry, some type of emotion. Well, Mercury retrograde is going to bring that to the forefront of your mind and have it on your mind all the time, because it's like you need to deal with the emotion of it. Process the emotional piece of it so that this can move and become wisdom. How does it become wisdom? You accept the reality of the situation. You accept the fact that you did something wrong and you have to deal with it. And the way for you to accept it so that it becomes wisdom is you take the lesson out of the situation. Yeah, this person may have cheated on you and they may have dumped you, but there are at some point, or were at some point, some red flags that you may have ignored in reference to knowing that this person was cheating on you or they were doing something with someone else. Now, maybe you chose not to acknowledge those red flags, or maybe you chose to ignore them, maybe out of pride. Like you could have known this person was cheating on you, but you're like, you know what? I ain't letting you go. I don't care. Okay. And I know there was a lot of Sagittarius is dealing with that. So that's why I'm saying this as an example. I'm not letting you go. I don't care. You mine. That type of energy. Aries was dealing with that too. But, we're not talking about Aries right now. But there are some people who know that their people were cheating on them, but they refuse to let the person go. There are some people who know, that they were not happy in a relationship with a person, but because they were worried about what other people had to say, or they knew other people were after their significant other, they wouldn't let them go. There are some people, when it comes to family relationships, they know that the situation is unresolved, but they keep dealing with this family member instead of maybe stepping away. Because we're dealing with the seventh house here, that also deals with some type of karma as well. Okay? When we're dealing with Libra has to do with karma as well. Okay? So a lot of these situations here were karmic in nature, where you either had to fix them or you had to leave these people be. And some of you got caught up emotionally. And so Mercury, what it's going to do is it's going to bring that information to the forefront, and you'll know what you need to deal with. Some of you are like, okay, well, how do I know what Mercury retrograde wants me to deal with? You'll know because during the time of Mercury retrograde, which is, like I said, from the pre-shadow stage, which began on the 16th of May, to the post-shadow period ending, which is July 6th, Whoever comes to your mind the most is the issue that you're going to need to resolve. You're going to need to bring closure to it. You're going to need to accept what happened. And the only way for you to do that is to look at the lesson in it. What could you have done differently? And once you find out what you could have done differently, then the process of healing will begin. And then you will be able to say, okay, I learned from that situation. I learned what I could have done differently. There's nothing you could have done about what that person's actions were. The only thing that you can acknowledge and accept is, you know what? I saw some red flags. I ignored them. Or I refused to accept the reality of the situation at the time. Okay, that's it. If you don't accept that, then what's going to happen is those negative feelings or emotions are going to hinder you from moving forward in life. You know, it's going to spill over to every other area of your life. It's going to spill over. Just like think of this as a big glass of water. And because you have not resolved these issues, drop a black dot or a black ink in. Black ink is not going to just stay in here. Right? The black ink is going to spread all throughout every area of your life if you don't clean it up. And this is why a lot of times when we're in karmic relationships with people, our money gets bad. Other areas of our life get messed up. It's because we're supposed to let go of those relationships and we refuse to. Right? So when it comes to relationships, this is kind of tricky because in the 3D realm, we're looking at it like, okay, well, that's my friend, or that's my family member, or that's my husband, or that's my child. But from the universal realm, these people are sent into your life to teach you a lesson. The universe doesn't care if you happen to fall in love with this person and marry them and have kids with them. The universe strictly sent this person to teach you a lesson. Once the lesson is learned, no matter what you guys have accomplished together, the relationship will begin to fall apart. And people not letting go of relationships is what blocks and creates emotional issues and brings up relationships from the past, Mercury retrograde energy. Hence why we have a lot of exes who come back from the past because they could be thinking about you. Now, if you're the one who dumped somebody or you did someone dirty, you know, if the universe wants you to address that issue, that person will keep coming to the forefront of your mind. So what some people will tend to do is they will tend to reach out. Now, somebody who's ascended and who truly regrets the way they did, they may apologize. Now, if you have to apologize to someone and this person says, okay, kiss my ass after you apologize, at least you did your part to right the karma of the situation, right? So apologize anyway. Now, this person doesn't necessarily have to take you back. Okay, so you apologize. This person says, you know, go to hell. You say, okay, I respect that, but I just want to let you know I sincerely apologize for my actions. You take care. I wish you the best. And you go on about your business. And what happens is those emotional tie-ups that you've had with that person coming on your mind, you've dealt with that karmically. So now what's going to happen is that's going to be transferred to the subconscious mind or the higher mind, which deals with your philosophy, your way of life, your spirituality, or your religion. Right? So you're looking at it from that point and you're gaining wisdom from it. And so you know moving forward, okay, I won't ghost anybody like that anymore. I'll just tell them, look, I'm sorry, but, you know, I'm not happy in this connection. Or I won't cheat on anybody and say I'm in a relationship with them. What I'll do is I'll just stay single until I know. Or if I feel like I have the urge to cheat, I'm going to go talk to my partner and let them know what's up. Like there's got to be some wisdom that has to be learned in order for it to be used in the Sagittarius energy. And it's all about your philosophy and how you look at things. Now, what happens sometimes is somebody will come to the forefront of your mind. For the lower vibrational people, somebody will come to the forefront of your mind, or you'll come to the forefront of their mind, and what they'll do is they'll reach back out to you. Now, you not knowing that this person is maybe feeling guilty and that's why you're on their mind, you may say, oh, they want me back. And so you jump back into a situation with them in the middle of Mercury retrograde, and it's not going to do anything but prove disastrous. This is why they tell you never take anybody back during a retrograde. Number one, Mercury's in retrograde, so your mind is clouded. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean you're unintelligent. It doesn't mean you can't figure out right from wrong and when somebody's playing you or not. It just means that with these energies this way, it makes it twice as hard to do so. So you should honor and respect that and not make any major decisions in reference to relationships or partnerships during Mercury retrograde. All right? Boom. Now, we're talking about Mercury in the 7th house. So we have a symbol here. This symbol is called the Iwas. This is a rune, R-U-N-E, runes. It's another form of divination. Traditionally, they're symbols, right? And traditionally, you will find these symbols carved on stones. but now you can get them on cards. So for those who are interested, you can get them from Amazon.com. All right. This rune is called this symbol is called Iwaz. All right. Now, it's actually this way, but it came out in reverse. Now let's talk about what it means in reverse. So here is Iwaz. In reverse, this is what it means. So go ahead and take a look at that. You can pause and read it if you like, but I'm going to read it to you. It says, moving backwards, stalled energy, falling off the horse, wasted journey. Okay, so this is in your seventh house in reference to relationships. And then we have that clarified with the Fool energy, major arcana of Uranus. Further clarified with the Four of Cups. Okay, so what we're looking at here is, for some of you, if you go back to these people moving backwards, if you go back to these relationships that have failed and have consistently been failing, whether it's a family member, a friendship, a lover, a coworker, a colleague, and you stay in these energies where you know you should be leaving, okay, or you feel as if it was wasted. You're not supposed to feel that it's wasted, because if you're feeling it's wasted, then that means you're not learning the lesson that you're supposed to learn in this relationship, and as a result, you're not able to turn that lesson into into wisdom. So that means you still have all of this negative pent up energy. So with the Fool in reverse here, this is all about jumping into a situation by moving backwards, going back into a situation, and what's going to happen is you're going to be unhappy. So many of you have already done that. There's relationships that you know need to end, but you keep going back or you keep holding on to them, and as a result, you remain emotionally unhappy. Some of you are distraught emotionally. Some of you need psychiatric help because you're that depressed. And it's only because you refuse to let go of a relationship that you feel is yours. But the universe again said, no, I didn't say you had to marry this person. I said this person was coming into your life to teach you a lesson. And so in the 3D realm, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is what we do in the 3D realm. We meet someone, we get intimate, we fall in love, we have kids, we get married. So now you're trying to tell me that I'm supposed to just forget this person or act like no, you're not supposed to forget them, but you're supposed to look at the lesson learned in the situation and move on, because you're not happy in the connection. For some of you, this is about you going back to connections that are no longer good for you. So you have to be careful of that. Now, when we look at what's going on in your first house with the lunar eclipse, the lunar eclipse is on May 26th. Now, the lunar eclipse, lunar deals with your emotions and feelings. So it deals with the negative emotions and feelings that are tied up into situations that you have not come to terms with, you have not come to grips with. So when we're looking at that, that's in your first house. We're looking at the symbol called Theresis. All right. Now, Theresis, this is the way it's supposed to be when it's upright. It came out in reverse. So let me show you here what it says for the reversed version of this. Here's the information here. I'm going to read it to you. It says abuse of power or force, letting down defenses, avoiding confrontation, fearful or vulnerable. And then we have that clarified with the Five of Swords. So for some of you, you could be, if this is information, if this is situations that are internal with you, maybe you're internally in battle about leaving someone or letting a situation go. Some of you, you could be trying to keep someone around who doesn't want to be kept. Okay, when we talk about abuse of power or force, some of you could be in relationships where you're abusive, and this is why the relationships are not working out. Some of you are letting down your defenses and allowing people to treat you disrespectfully. It could be because they're family or because you love them or what have you, but it's causing conflict. Some of you are experiencing people playing mind games with you because you're avoiding confrontation. You're avoiding checking these people and letting them know that, hey, this is not how it goes over here. Okay, and some of you are afraid to do that because you're afraid that these people will leave you or they won't deal with you anymore. And again, this could be in a work environment as well. You could have a boss who is really petty, really does terrible things to you, treats you really terrible, and you may be fearful of saying something or standing your ground because you're afraid of losing your job. This is a warning. When you have issues at the job like this is a warning that the universe does not want you at this job. Find another job. Like, once you start understanding astrology and start paying attention to the planetary alignments and start paying attention to the relationships around you and what's going on and what you're feeling, and you start listening to your higher self, you will know that there are going to be obstacles that come that you're not going to resolve. And it's because these people were put in your life to teach you a lesson. So this is what I'm getting with that. Okay, so what's going to happen is you're going to have to deal with these situations here. You're going to have to deal with the confrontation in some way, shape, or form, because this is what's making you emotionally distraught for some of you. That job, that boss who's very petty and makes your life hell, or that colleague or coworker who makes your life hell, who lies on you, who causes you unnecessary work. You get blamed for it. You know, mandatory overtime, so you don't know what your schedule is going to be. Working in an environment where people take advantage of you. They lie on you. They're deceitful. They don't give a shit about you, taking advantage of you. Some of you are depressed. And some of you are feeling this in relationships too. Family relationships, you're dealing with family members who are disrespectful, who are rude. Some of you, these family members are karmic. Okay, so some of you need to stand your ground, and you're fighting with yourself instead of fighting with them. Some of you maybe don't like confrontation, but what happens is if you don't stand your ground and fight with these people, you don't have to necessarily physically fight, but if you don't stand your ground and speak up, that energy has to go somewhere. So you either explode or you're going to implode. You're a fire sign. You're supposed to express yourself. So if you're depressed as a fire sign, it's because you're holding your feelings in, and that is not natural for a fire sign. You have to express yourself. That is your design. That is your nature. So you are going against your natural self. So what could happen is you could get sick, physically, emotionally, spiritually sick, because you refuse to stand your ground with people because you're afraid to lose them. You're afraid that they won't respect you or they won't treat, but they're not doing that in the first place. You feel me? So this is something that you guys are going to have to deal with here. Once you clear out those negative energies, or you can use this lunar eclipse in Sagittarius to clear out those negative energies. What happens after a lunar eclipse is 2 weeks later, there's a solar eclipse. The solar eclipse is to allow you to bring in new creative energy. All right. Because what happens is the lunar eclipse always comes first because it helps you to clear out the negative stuff that you are still holding on to. Whether it's just giving yourself closure. Because most times, a lot of people will hold a grudge because they want someone to apologize to them. And some of you got to understand that when there's a situation that ends, you can't wait for someone to give you an apology to bring closure to the situation, because that could make you sick. You sitting there waiting forever for this person to apologize to you, even if it's a family member, especially if it's a family member. And they don't see the error in their ways, and they feel like they can treat you any old way, and that's that. And they've been doing it. They're not going to stop doing it, especially if they've been doing it since you were kids. If the relationship's always been this way, know that that's karmic in nature. And it's time for you to step away. And it's hard because it's family, or it's hard because you've been married to this person 22 years, or it's hard because you've been working at this job 35 years. But you have to look at your physical and mental well-being. And Sagittarius is in your first house. So some of you are going to start feeling physical implications of you not standing your ground. You're going to start getting sick. People are going to start seeing it in your face. Things like that. And so you have to be careful. So let's see what kind of energies you can embody to get past this. Pluto, transformative energy. So for a lot of you, you're going through an ascension process. The ascension process is when something comes your way that is very emotionally difficult to deal with, but you have to make a decision to do it. And that means you're transferring, you're going through a transformation of your thought process. For some of you, it's your philosophy, because Sagittarius rules philosophy. It's your religious or spiritual beliefs too. Okay, some of you could be in a family where they're very strictly, they're heavily religious, and this is not your belief. And so now it's like, okay, well, what do? This is not what I believe in, but my family's going to disown me if they find out that, I got a tattoo, or if they find out that I don't want to be married, or if they find out that I'm pregnant and I'm not married, whatever the case may be. So some of you are dealing with that. But what you have to do is you have to focus on what's best for you. So some of you are going through an ascension process. You're coming out of the formative years as far as what you were taught when you were a kid, where Mercury is at. in retrograde, what you were taught in the Gemini stages of your life, you have to transform that energy now and look at, okay, yeah, I know that's what I was taught, but now that I'm an adult and I'm out here in the world, this is not how this works. So I have to change my philosophy. I have to change my spiritual or religious beliefs and understanding of things, because I've experienced some things and now I have wisdom, and wisdom has taught me that I have to change. I have to transform. So for some of you, this is the energy you're going to need to embody. You're going to have to go through that transformation. All right. So with the transformation energy here, we're talking about renewal, inner resources, basic instinct, motivation, personal power, standing in your power, standing your ground against these people, not allowing them to just treat you like trash because, you're a relative, or because, you're married, cycles, death and rebirth, subversion. And if you can't change these people, then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to change your mindset. And that's where the transformation comes in. You have to change your philosophy, your way of life, your way of thinking about the situation. And that's what's going to happen to you with Sagittarius and a lunar eclipse in your first house. You being a Sagittarius sun sign. So you're going through a transformation is what's going on. So I do wish you the best with this. But just stay true to yourself and understand that, whatever's making you unhappy, no matter who it is, a family member, a job, you have to clear that out of your life, because the universe wants to bless you and give you energy to move on and do positive things. But you can't do that until you clear out this stuff, which Mercury retrograde is going to bring to your forefront. So that's what I got for you, Sag, in reference to Mercury retrograde and Sagittarius lunar eclipse. Let me know if this resonated in the comments. I mean, you don't have to tell me if it doesn't. I could care less. But if it does resonate, let me know in the comments. If you resonate with this and you don't want to leave a comment, make sure you click the like button so that other Sagittarius who are going through this are able to see this. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. All right. I love you guys and I wish you the best. Take care.